This is the 5th video that I am uploading. The last video I uploaded was in January 2025. This video is being uploaded in April 2026. In this video, I will primarily be going over the court case regarding the 17-year-old girl who died in the care of the Gracias Choir. The Gracias Choir was founded by Ok-soo Park, who is the founder of Good News Mission. His daughter Yoon-suk Park, as far as I know now, is the former president of the Gracias Choir. She and 3 other people are involved in this court case that I will be going over. First off, a summary background. The video prior to this has a more in-depth background, but the summary background would be that a 17-year-old girl died in the care of the Gracias Choir. She was found with severe injuries. A preliminary verbal autopsy finding indicated that the cause of death was likely a pulmonary embolism. Yoon-suk Park, as well as 2 others and the girl's mother, were put on trial. Now, before I continue with the summary background, I would like to make a note on sources and translation. I do not speak Korean. I have utilized Naver to search for articles, and I have utilized Google Chrome and its auto-translate feature to read articles. That being said, I did note that from the time of the last video to now, that particularly for the source with the last name Lee in this video, it is not translated as Lee in the last video. I give direct links to articles, so accessibility should not be an issue, but I am just making a translation note. Also, that when I quote articles or put things in quotes, it is from the Google Chrome auto-translate unless otherwise stated. So I just wanted to make that clear. So back to the summary background. At the time of my last video, the first trial had taken place. Yoon-suk Park was sentenced to 4 years and 6 months in prison for what was auto-translated by Google Chrome as child abuse resulting in death. Of the other 2 women, the woman I specify here as woman number 1 was sentenced to 4 years and 6 months in prison for what was auto-translated as child abuse resulting in death. Woman number 2 was sentenced to 4 years in prison for what was auto-translated as child abuse resulting in death. The mother of the victim was sentenced to 1 year in prison and 2 years probation for what was auto-translated as child abandonment and neglect. After the first trial, 3 of the defendants appealed the charges, and the prosecution also appealed. This slide I have here for continuity's sake, just laying out everything as I said earlier. Yoon-suk Park, her charges, her prison sentence, woman number 1, woman number 2, the victim's mother. And the reason I haven't put the other people's names is honestly because auto-translate. So I've just left it like this, just so people are aware. So then the appellate court proceedings, I will read from the auto-translate quote from Kim that was published on September 22nd, 2025 at the sentencing hearing held on the 19th. The 7th Criminal Division of the Seoul High Court Presiding Judge Lee Jae Kwon sentenced Park, who was arrested and indicted on charges including violation of the Act on Special Cases concerning the punishment, etc., of child abuse crimes, child abuse murder, to 25 years in prison. So on the left here, I have Yoon-suk Park, woman number 1, woman number 2, the victim's mother, their charges, in quotes, notating that that's the auto-translate of the charges, and then their prison sentences. I will also read another auto-translate quote from the Jang article from September 19th, 2025. It's not the one on the screen. You can access these articles that I am quoting. I will either put them directly in the video description box or put a Dropbox with the articles that you can read these yourself. I say that because the quote I'm going to read starts with the words additionally. So, quote, additionally, the court stated, considering that he condoned the death by continuing to direct or encourage abusive acts, despite recognizing that the victim's health was deteriorating due to the abuse by believers, willful negligence is recognized, and therefore the crime of child abuse resulting in murder is acknowledged, end quote, from Jang, the article written on or published on September 19th, 2025. So you'll notice in that article, it is translated as child abuse resulting in murder. Just keeping those notes out there. I assume these are legal terms, and like I said, I do not speak Korean, so trying to keep these just as plain as possible and giving you guys the articles yourselves so you can read them yourselves, use different translations if you want. Yeah. Lastly, the Supreme Court review, final appeal. I will be reading a auto-translated quote from an article by Kim that was published on January 30th, 2026. So, quote, on the 29th, the First Division of the Supreme Court, Presiding Justice Shin Soo-ki, dismissed the appeal filed by the defendant's side against Park 54, the choir director who was indicted on charges of violating the Act on Special Cases concerning the punishment, etc., of child abuse crimes, child abuse murder, end quote. And another auto-translated quote from the same article, quote, the Supreme Court issued a final ruling stating that there was no misunderstanding of the law in the previous appellate court's judgment, end quote. So you can see on the left on the slide here, charges upheld, prison sentence upheld. The only reason there's a different source for woman number 2 is that some articles were saying 23 years for the prison sentence upheld, but in fact it is 22 years. It seemed to just be a typographical error. So just letting people know about that in case they read other articles or just notice the discrepancy. It is 22 years. Yoon-suk Park, the prison sentence was upheld 25 years. The other woman upheld 25 years, and the victim's mother, prison sentence upheld 4 years. Okay, so what now? Yoon-suk Park is no longer on the Gracias Choir website as of recording this video in April 2026. Some sources describe further allegations against Yoon-suk Park by former Gracias Choir members. I have heard different things regarding if there is an ongoing court case around these allegations. If there are articles that come out regarding a court case, as in like the outcomes, if there is in fact a court case, I will likely make a video on that. I am aware that there are videos and articles regarding these allegations and other things that have been said about Yoon-Suk Park, and I believe about Good News Mission as a whole. I would say it's beyond my scope to speak about. I am not in Korea. I don't speak Korean. So yeah, just to say I am aware those things exist. I would say some of the articles, or at least the articles that I have seen thus far, would be more interpretive than necessarily factual, so I chose to not put those in this video. So yeah, if people are just wondering why. Otherwise, this was a sad case of what happened to this young girl, and I do hope that Yoon-Suk Park, the other two women, the victim's mother, have or do repent regarding all of this. So yeah.